proposal by a United Nations team that peacekeepers should be deployed to the country immediately to protect civilians. A UN mission said it had uncovered evidence of severe atrocities, which it said may amount to war crimes. But Sudan's foreign ministry dismissed the recommendation, calling the UN mission political and illegal. More than 10 million people have fled their homes since civil war broke out in April last year between Sudan's army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Let's speak now to the UN Population Fund's Regional Director, Laila Baker, who joins me from Port Sudan. Thank you for speaking to us, Laila. With Sudan rejecting the UN's proposal to deploy its forces to protect civilians, what consequences do you fear it may have on civilians in Sudan?
Thank you for the question and for having us on the program today. I'm not a political person. I work for the operational arm, and specifically the arm of the UN that protects the rights and promotes the rights of women and girls wherever they may be, but particularly in conflicts like we have in Sudan. And it pains me to see that after a year and a half of brutal conflict, many of the women and girls are facing the most dire consequences. I noted that you said that there are over 10 million internally displaced. Imagine for a moment that you are a young girl who no longer has access to school, or a pregnant woman trying to find safe delivery. For those women and girls, the consequences are enormous, and UNFPA is here to support anyone who works on the humanitarian portfolio to ensure that they have access to those services.
And the UN has raised concerns about possible war crimes. And I understand that, as you say, you're not speaking from a political standpoint, but how concerned are you about the potential nature of those war crimes and how they may be affecting people there?
Again, I don't have access to anything legally defined as a war crime. That's not the job of the agency that I work for at UNFPA. What I can tell you, however, is that there are incidences of things that happen during war that are deplorable where humanity is concerned. Deprivation from food and water, loss of shelter, exploitation and abuse, particularly where the exposure to sexual violence is concerned. For UNFPA, our job is twofold. One, to ensure that where we have internally displaced people and those in need, particularly girls and women, to ensure that we support all of our partners who can provide those vital services, getting the care that women need to have a baby, making for sure that if you're exposed to sexual violence, that you are not judged, but you can get the counseling and medical care that you need. Those are the things that we will focus on, and we will hope that all of the partners that we work with can build a new Sudan when the future brings a little bit more hope. In the meantime, we need to focus on those who are most in need right now, and that is half of Sudan's population, whether that's access to food and clean water or shelter or protection from all of the climate change elements like floods that we've been seeing, as well as access to services for healthcare and protection from gender-based violence. That's the job that we hope we can do.
And Laila, what needs to happen now to enable you to do that very challenging job in light of the fact that Sudan has said no to this UN proposal to deploy forces to protect civilians? Given that they've rejected that, what do you think needs to happen now in order to achieve that aim of yours?
Well, I think that first and foremost, access to the people in need is the primary concern for us. Just to give you a quick glimpse, 80% of the health facilities in some areas have been damaged, particularly in Khartoum and the western part of the country. With 80% of the health facilities down, very little water infrastructure, the UN operational agencies, the humanitarian agencies like UNFPA, need to have unhindered, unconditional access to those populations. That means bringing in goods, supplies, and people to relieve the situation on the ground. Addressing the famine needs, especially malnutrition in children and for pregnant women, will reduce greatly the situation that's immediate. Then we hope that when there's greater access for the humanitarians, greater care for those who are most in need, you can have a conversation about peace. And I never give up hope on that. UNFPA never gives up hope on that.
Well, Laila Baker, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us from Port Sudan. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.